Buenos días a todas y a todos. Mis primeras palabras son obviamente de agradecimiento a la Fiscalía General de la República, a su presidente,
Darío, as well as the law faculty of Havana's University. I'm sure that they have had a lot to do with my presence here with you. We're living a time in Europe as well as here of changes, of crisis, financial crisis, but also social and political crisis. In my country, they say we're coming out of it, but really, we're coming out, if it is so, with a very inequality level. The crisis has brought about mainly an increase of imbalances among citizens. Totally unacceptable. The concept of crisis should be linked to that of changes, mutations, and the idea of the obsolescence of political, economic, social, and vital model. From which, by the way, it is impossible to come out by applying solutions based in the same model that they want to substitute. You only come out of a crisis of a model is only through our metamorphosis, transforming that history has changed without afraid of changes, and overcoming all reactions to authoritarianism and positions that have been overcome. The crisis took place in the middle of capitalism. It took place in the middle of the financial system, and it is going to be difficult to come out of that crisis with more capitalism and more rescue of the financial system. In terms of the penal law, which is the same to say the concession of life and state, we are witnesses concern the authoritarianism, which is leading us to a theoretical model based on a scientific character. And if you allow me, the undemocratic of the dogmatic, which leads to give a positive penal response, dogmatic, scientifically, and of course, anti-democratic. We must obtain, they say, a penal law efficient and efficacious, ensuring the top of security, imposing a single model. We know it, globalization, in which the kindness of the system is above any questioning. No tolerance. The expression is zero tolerance for the enemies of the system. At the same time, we must reflect on the matters of penal law and the work that we lawyers have to play and enhance the need to undertake our commitment with the state of law, or what is the same, with the freedom as a superior value. It is necessary to fulfill with that commitment and not to keep silent in the face of the very deep backwardness which is taking place in most of the countries. The liberal principles in the most technical terms, the boom of the penal law of the enemy, the exacerbation of the worst way of understanding security, and the corresponding domination of dangerousness. It's something almost exclusive and limited of the punitive instructions. There is a trend to go back to the darkest moments of the penal law since the period previous to illustration. The reading of the first text of the draft project of the penal code in Spain of 1912, which became later one which is very much modified, gave no room to doubts. It is evident that we're running the risk of losing fundamental references, which we thought were accomplishments that could not be changed. The principle of guiltless, as a sound expression of the dignity of people, they can never be deprived from that, but that they may deserve it, not fulfilling the duties which are personally as citizens correspond to them, and in that extent their personal life is about to be ignored in such a way that the gradual disappearance can be announced. A democratic society is necessarily a plural society in which discrepancy is considered a positive value, and a state that responds to that society generates a right to pluralism, freedom, and equality. It's the tutelage instrument of the values and interests that characterize it. We can affirm that the punitive standards assume, at least they should, the limit to the exercise of the fundamental rights, avoiding that the abuse of freedom may attack freedom of others. And they try to lead the conduct of citizens towards the field of what can be tolerated by the majority. Any society to live requires a minimum homogeneity of conduct, that in which the alien rights are respected, and that is the terrain I'm talking about. The penal law, the penal right, limits the limit to heterogeneity, pluralism as a value. It is obvious to say that the greater is the recognition of this and lesser that of the imposition of homogeneity, more democratic that law would be. That the top category of those values has been constituted by the rays of this single thinking, the unifying intention. We are witnessing with astonishment the collapse of the democratic ideal when the EU tries, in a degrading way, expelling from its cell who are looking for refuge, running away from death and misery. We're coming back to the Middle Age. The juncture between the liberal penal law and authoritarian, that is a direct descendant, is a consistent logic of the struggle between democracy and totalitarianism, and between pluralism and individualism. The great value to be accomplished is security, a value which will counterpose to liberty. Security cannot by itself be a value. It is necessary to preach it because it is a concept of reference. They are the fundamental rights of the person, the ones who should be backing the idea of security. And paradoxically, they suffer until they are eliminated. The loss of reference is perhaps real, has a theoretical origin in aseptic, the systemic functionalism becomes a doctrine in which the only thing that cares is how the system works and which role the penal response places in it. The standard is protected by itself. The follow-up of the general positive prevention, that is the trust of citizens in the validity of the standards, refers in the validity of the system that imposes it, and it becomes the leitmotif
No hace falta mayor
there is no need of greater
Incluso desde
justification.
posiciones pretendidamente
Even from
progresistas,
progressive
se afirma que
positions,
caminamos
it
hacia
is
un concepto
affirmed
de
that we're
delito
walking
que, superando la vieja idea de lesión opuesta en
with a
peligro de bienes
concept of
jurídicos,
crime.
ha de ser entendido
It must be
simplemente como el
understood simply
cuestionamiento de la
as the
vigencia de la
questioning of the license.
Naturalmente, eso permite no cuestionar al servicio de qué
This allows
quién
not to question
hemos
the
puesto
system of
el
who
ordenamiento jurídico.
Have
Desde
been
esa
placed
perspectiva,
in the
la
legal
seguridad
positions.
y su
From that
inseparable
perspective,
antagonista, la
security
peligrosidad,
and
se convierte, contradiciendo lo que antes señalábamos, en el valor
dangerousness
supremo.
becomes the supreme
Que
value.
sean ontológicamente conceptos de referencia no parece
In
importante.
concept of reference,
Se
it
trata de
seems that it
ocultar
doesn't matter.
que
The
toda
thing
norma,
is to
pero
hide
sobre
from
todo
any
la penal,
standard, but
es una
especially in the
decisión
penal one.
política
It's a
que juega
political
con la
decision
libertad.
that plays
Que toda
with
decisión
freedom.
política
Any
está al
political
servicio de
decision
un interés.
is at the service of
En
an
derecho,
interest.
la asepsia es
The
imposible.
right and
En estas
asepsia is
condiciones, la
impossible.
crítica resulta
In this,
improcedente.
the
La norma,
criticism, the
que no admite más
standard
cuestionamiento que
that
de su
accepts
corrección
no more
competencial,
questioning
no tiene más función
has no
que la de
other
regir.
function but
Estamos
to rule
ante la
that
justificación
we
teórica
are
del
before
pensamiento
the
único
theoretical
y del
justification
reino
of
de
the
la
unique thinking
homogeneidad
and the
absoluta.
kingdom of absolute
No hay
homogeneity.
espacio para la
There is no
discrepancia,
room
ni
for
por consiguiente
discrepancies
para el pluralismo.
nor for
Porque precisamente
pluralism,
este
because
discute la
this
validez, la
discusses
crítica de
the
la norma.
validity and the
Y por
criticism
eso
of the
esta,
standard.
la norma,
That is
como
why
expresión
this, the
armada del
standard,
poder,
as an armed
se dirigirá
expression of power,
fundamentalmente contra o en la
is against
El resultado de
those
todo
matters.
ello es lo que ha venido a
The
denominarse,
result of
incluso
this
por
is
quienes
what
lo
has been
propongan,
called
derecho penal del enemigo.
penal law of